Think about the last time your teenager came to you with a real problem. Not, can I have a ride? Not, what's for dinner? A real one. Something they were scared about, confused by, in over their head with. Now think about how long ago that was. If it's been months, or maybe longer, you're not alone. And the question worth sitting with isn't just, why did they stop? It's this: what happened the last time they did ask? Because the answer to that question explains almost everything. If you're watching this, you probably already sense it. Your teen handles things alone now. You find out about problems late, or not at all, until something has gone far enough that it couldn't stay hidden. And something about that doesn't sit right with you, because you're available. You've told them you're available, and somehow that hasn't mattered. You're right to notice. And I want to say this clearly before we go further. A teen who stops asking for help isn't a confident, self-sufficient teenager. They're a teenager who made a quiet decision that asking costs more than it's worth. Understanding why they made that decision is the first step to changing it. Here's what gets missed when we talk about teen independence. We tend to celebrate it. They're growing up, they're figuring things out on their own, and some of that is genuinely healthy. Teenagers are supposed to develop autonomy, but there's a critical difference between a teen who doesn't ask because they've built real confidence, and a teen who doesn't ask because they've learned that asking leads somewhere painful. The second version looks identical from the outside. The difference lives entirely in the psychology underneath, and parents, even excellent, careful, loving parents, often can't tell which one they're dealing with. Let's talk about what's actually happening. Psychologist Martin Seligman introduced the concept of learned helplessness in the 1960s, a pattern he observed where repeated experiences of a bad outcome led to giving up entirely, even when the situation had changed and a better outcome was possible. Translation: when your attempts to get something keep going wrong in the same predictable way, your brain eventually stops trying. Not because you're weak, because your brain has concluded that trying isn't worth the cost. In teenagers, this exact mechanism applies to help-seeking behavior. A 2021 study in the Journal of Research on Adolescents found that teens whose parents responded to their problems with overreaction, panic, or immediate problem-solving before listening were significantly less likely to disclose future problems. Not because they became more private, because they'd been trained through repeated experience that asking triggers a response they then have to manage on top of whatever they were already dealing with. Think about what that means from your teen's side. They came to you with something that felt fragile, and what they got back required them to handle your reaction alongside their own problem. So the next time something came up, they did the math and chose to carry it alone instead. But here's where it gets more complicated. It's not just overreaction that closes the door. Dismissal does the same thing from the opposite direction. You'll be fine. It's not that big a deal. When I was your age, the message underneath, whether it's intended or not, is your problem isn't real enough to take seriously. And to an adolescent brain that is developmentally wired to feel everything with maximum intensity, that landing is devastating. Francis Jensen, neuroscientist and author of The Teenage Brain, describes how the adolescent limbic system processes emotional experience with a kind of amplification that adults have largely grown out of. What feels manageable to a parent often genuinely feels catastrophic to a 15-year-old. Not because they're being dramatic, but because their brain is producing that experience in a fundamentally different way. When a parent's response doesn't meet that intensity, doesn't match the emotional weight of what the teen brought to them, it doesn't just fail to help. It communicates that they're alone in what they're feeling. And teenagers who feel consistently alone in their feelings stop broadcasting them. But here's where it gets really interesting, and maybe a little unexpected. Most parents, when they realize their teen has stopped coming to them, start offering more open-door conversations, more "you can always talk to me," more visible availability. And the teen, who has learned through experience, not attitude, looks at all of that and feels nothing shift. Because it wasn't the availability that was the problem, it was the response. And here's the harder part. By the time a parent notices that something has changed, the pattern has usually been forming for a long time. The door didn't close all at once. It closed in increments, one interaction at a time, over months or years. What looks like a sudden withdrawal was actually a slow calculation that finally reached its conclusion. There's a paradox at the center of this. The teenagers most desperately in need of parental support are often the ones who have most effectively made themselves look like they don't need it. They've developed real skill at self-containment because they had to. And the more competent they look at handling things alone, the less pressure anyone feels to check in. So the teen who needs the most ends up receiving the least, and they know it. And it confirms exactly what they already concluded about what asking is worth. I want to name something directly. If your teen has stopped asking for help and you're noticing other changes alongside it, withdrawal from friends, loss of interest in things they used to love, changes in sleep or appetite, or anything that reads as more than just growing independence, please take that seriously. A teenager carrying something heavy with no support is at risk in ways that aren't always visible. This isn't a situation where more patience will eventually fix it on its own. In those cases, a therapist or counselor isn't a last resort. It's the most loving, practical thing you can offer. Step into your teen's experience for a moment. They're dealing with something they can't fully process. A situation at school, a friendship that's fracturing, something they're ashamed of, something that scares them. And they already know, from experience, how the conversation is likely to go if they bring it to you. They've played it out in their head, so they don't. They sit with it. They add it to the pile of things they're managing quietly, and they become a little more alone than they were the day before. That is a significant amount of weight for someone who hasn't yet figured out who they are.
Here's what I want to offer you. The goal isn't to become a parent your teen never has to protect themselves from. You're human. You're going to react sometimes, badly, in ways you can't always predict or prevent. The goal is a repair ratio that tips in the right direction. Psychologists call this earned secure attachment. It doesn't require a perfect track record. It requires enough good landings that the nervous system begins to update its prediction. Your teen's brain is not fixed. It is still waiting for enough evidence to revise its conclusion about what asking costs. The last time your teen came to you with something real, something landed in them, quietly, in a way they may not have been able to name. Maybe it went well, maybe it didn't, but their nervous system catalogued it, and it's been running that calculation ever since. You can't undo past interactions, but you can change what happens in the next one. Not with a grand gesture, or a direct conversation about the distance, with a single response, just once, just soon, that costs them nothing, that makes the math come out differently, that gives them one moment to file under safe. That's how the door opens again, one quiet, unremarkable interaction at a time. If this resonated, subscribe. I make videos like this every week. And next up is something that I think will land just as hard: the psychology of teens who seem to become a completely different person, sometimes almost overnight. Why it happens, what it signals, and what most parents get wrong when they try to respond to it. I'll see you there.